I'm always telling you guys that the two best video games in the world are Mario and Doom, and I cannot recall anybody arguing with me on that, so I have no reason to believe that this is in any way incorrect. So that's settled, and nobody can disagree. During last year's marathon, a game was brought to my attention called Golden Souls. This was a ginormous Doom 2 mod that turned the game into a Mario 64 style 3D collectathon platformer, and if you know anything about me and my own sensibilities, you'll know that I am a big fan of both of those things. So when you duct tape those things together like some kind of crazy scientist type guy, you already know I'll be all over that. I sunk a lot of time into that game, so much so that it actually put me behind schedule and put the marathon in jeopardy. Then, during the summer marathon, I went and played Golden Souls 2 and the exact same thing happened. It has always been the plan to play Golden Souls 3 during this marathon, but from what I understand, this game is currently only available in a limited demo form. But even though the full game isn't out yet, it's kind of a blessing in disguise because it means that I can't get hooked on the game and play it for 3 days straight and put the marathon in danger. But at the same time, I enjoyed the game a lot and I wish there was more of it, but maybe one day there will be. Now first and foremost, I should point out that I finally caved and played this game on a lower difficulty than I did the previous two titles. If you saw my videos on those, you may recall that I got unbelievably pissed off at those games because I kept dying to a Sniffit or a I don't remember what the But the point is, I was getting my ass kicked until it turned into ass paste, and after pulling my way through the second game, I decided that when I checked out the third one, I would just swallow my pride and admit that my problems were my own fault for picking the high difficulty and just play on normal mode. And that turned out to be the right decision. Even though I enjoyed all of these games, I think I had the least amount of detrimental frustration with this one, which meant that I had way more energy to appreciate the good stuff, and there is a lot of it. This is a platformer on a greater scale than ever before, thanks to the addition of new mechanics. You can now wall jump, which adds a great deal of vertical integration to the gameplay loop. You can also long jump, which is a lot of fun once you get the hang of it. And if you charge up the ultimate F***o punch or whatever it's called and release it while doing a long jump, this happens. Let me tell you, the second I saw that happen was the second I decided this was in the running for my favorite Doom mod ever. I will say that the weak link for me with this game was definitely the platforming sections that required any degree of precision like this one. But even these have been improved with a far more forgiving system where falling off a cliff just gives you a little bit of damage instead of killing you outright. Which is exactly what Doom Eternal did. Now that's how you do it, you learn from the best. This is also even more of a collectathon than the previous titles. You can collect letters that spell the word Doom, like in Donkey Kong Country. The big coins are back, and you can use them to buy secret weapons. You got red coin missions where the map will actually tell you the general vicinity of the coins so you're not running in circles accomplishing nothing for half an hour, which is a good fit for a Doom mod considering how prone the game tends to be to pacing issues. And most importantly, you actually have collectible golden skulls similar to the shine sprites or stars. Doom Guy even does a goofy little dance whenever he gets one. And that's another very important takeaway. The gameplay loop is not like the other titles where you're just going to the end of a level. It plays more like Super Mario 64 and Sunshine, where it drops you into a big world and you pursue an objective of your choice. Once you get a skull, you can choose to leave the level or continue exploring for more stuff and then leave of your own accord. You can even find these little character trophies like in Smash Bros. I have no idea who the f*** this is. The world also responds in interesting ways that you wouldn't necessarily expect. I remember there were these big metal gongs that would make a noise when you shot them, and the game actually surprised me by revealing a secret when I hit them all. That's some old school Banjo-Kazooie type discovery, and that is definitely a compliment. It really does lean a lot more into the 3D platformer style of gameplay than the previous titles. The only downfall here is that sometimes there are mission-specific events that require you to leave and come back to trigger them, but that's pretty authentic to the Mario 64 approach anyway. so I wouldn't call it a flaw so much as a minimally inconvenient thing. In terms of weapons, you got all the classics, like the double barrel shotgun with 2 firing modes, and the trumpet rocket launcher thing, and the assault rifle with a Mario Star visor. One of the things I love about all of these games is how they refuse to take themselves seriously. There is so much humor and charm in these games that it's impossible to get through without smiling. I never get tired of the cutesy, child-friendly drawings of Doomguy in between the levels and the offbeat dialogue that sounds like it could have come from a PS2-era 3D platformer with an E10 Plus rating. The dissonance between these angry hell demons and the whimsical world is always funny in and of itself. The hub world is full of life and characters. It's a tiny little area full of NPCs with colorful personalities, and they all have lives of their own. You can get Caco Cola from a Caco Demon themed McDonald's called Thy Fries Consumed, where they're out here selling Phobos fries and Deimos Diet Cola. There's a guy here who doesn't have the right currency. There's a bunch of guys having a rave around a barrel of fire. There's a dude on the roof of one of the buildings who can't get down. What a dumbass. Visually, the game is phenomenal, even more so than its predecessors. These games may all have the soul of Doom bleeding through them, but they incorporate modern graphical luxuries beautifully, giving you visuals that are still reminiscent of the source material, but brought up to a higher technical standard without stooping to vapid hyperrealism. Golden Souls 1 and 2, they're very nice to look at, but not like this. The game makes liberal use of 3D models where 2D sprites used to be, and it's so refreshing to play a Doom game and see a bunch of rounded coin models all grouped together like it's just not a big deal at all. This level with the Chinese lanterns floating in the air and the bloom effect, thousands of tiny little points of light all stretching off into the distance, the lighting reflecting off the surface of the water and the color of the water reflecting back onto your arms. That is crazy. And the best part is, this isn't even the best version of the game. From what I understand, there's a relatively new source port of Doom called VK Doom that adds things like ray tracing and shit, which is amazing. If only I wasn't still running a 1070. It's also married to tons of musical references that a lot of the gamer boys will appreciate. Demos like this are bittersweet. It's always nice to get a taste of what's to come, but they always leave you wanting more. It indicates that they got a good thing going, but you gotta wait for it, and waiting is hard. That being said, when this game does eventually get finished, I'm pretty confident that it will be well worth the wait. This demo is very fun, so in the meantime you can grab this and spend all that time practicing the jumping mechanics. Otherwise, that's all for today's video, but don't forget to tune in to tomorrow's video. Can you guess what it is? I won't give it away, but let's just say that if you're a fan of fungus, including the ones with feet, you're gonna be living very large. Merry Christmas, all!